Hey everyone, this is Rebecca from Vivid Gamer, and I'm here with Eric to give you the video review of Guacamelee, the latest PSN title from DrinkBox Studios for PS3 and Vita. Although I personally played the game exclusively on Vita, the footage you will see is exclusively from the PS3 version. So Guacamelee is basically about this farmer whose name literally means avocado in Spanish, who ends up being transformed into a luchador and goes on this quest to rescue, basically the damsel in distress from the evil Calaca, who's this skeleton guy who's trying to reunite the living world and the dead world. And so that's kind of the modus operandi for the game. But the story is really not the reason you're going to play this game. There's NPCs and there's little side quests and things like that, but in reality it's mostly about the gameplay, and that's really what's going to keep you playing. And the one thing that I will note is that there's these orbs that you have to collect that are like really hard to find and really hard to get when you do find them. And if you don't collect them all, it actually affects the ending you get. If you don't collect them, you get the quote normal ending, and if you collect them all, then when you beat the final boss, you get the final orb and you get the special secret ending, which has its own trophy. And the normal ending is really kind of bad. I haven't seen the special ending because I was just eager to finish the game, and I was like, oh, I'll worry about the orbs later. But I kind of wish I had not been so lazy. Everybody calls it a Metroidvania game, like that's a genre now. But basically, at its heart, it's a puzzle platformer with combat, kind of like a Super Meat Boy, except I'd say that Super Meat Boy is more about pure skill rather than actual like having a puzzle element, whereas Guacamelee really has this kind of puzzle element, because as you go through the game, you unlock different skills from this like goat man, and basically they start out with like kind of like regular names, and as the game goes on, the names get like weirder and weirder, like almost a joke about how like they were running out of ways to name these things. So like one of them's like the something derp or something, because they're just like, whatever, I don't even care anymore. But basically for me, initially I wasn't really thrilled with the game. I thought it felt kind of generic and uninspired. But the more that I played and the more that I got like these special moves and things like that, and it really opened up in terms of the puzzle aspect, where you might have to use several different moves in the right order, in the right timing. And you have to switch between the living world and the night world, and all these type of things kind of come together in this huge kind of palette that you have to cross through a level. And the combat in general, despite all the different moves and combos that you can do, feels a little monotonous, I guess. But the bosses can be pretty fun, and the developers really did make an effort to make the combat more varied and force you to strategize, especially in some of like the mini bosses and the full bosses.
Yeah.
Where they'll have shields or something that you need a special move in order to destroy the shield before you can attack them. So I played the game exclusively on Vita, but Eric, you played it on PS3 also, so you can talk a little bit about the cross-platform and cross-save features, as well as the two-player mode.
Yeah, I played a lot on the PS3 because I played it two-player, and unfortunately there's no online multiplayer on the Vita or on the PS3, so it's just easier to play two-player on the console. But it does feature kind of a cross-play, not necessarily where someone on the Vita can play with the PS3, but you can use your Vita as an extra controller. And what's really nice is the map shows up on the Vita itself, so you don't have to keep hitting select. You can just look down at your Vita.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, and you can still use some of the touchscreen functionality from the Vita as well, when you're transforming into a chicken, which is hilarious. But two-player is actually kind of fun, and the enemies seemed like it was a little bit harder, and then the combat changes a little too, because when you hit somebody, you can throw them You can throw it to your partner who can hit him in the air, do some combos that way, or grab them and then throw them again into another set of enemies. So that was pretty cool. And another great feature is being able to upload your save to the cloud and then continue the save on your Vita, which, you know, not too many games actually do that. So it's really nice that a PSN game has that feature.
So for me, the biggest thing that drew me into Guacamelee was the art direction. So it has like a very like Dia de los Muertos kind of like art design with the skeletons and everything. If you've played their games before, Mutant Blobs Attack, it has a similar kind, like you can see the similarity in the art. Even though it's very different, you know, settings and all that, but it's just gorgeous. I mean, the one thing I think I really loved about the game is every time like you get a new move, you get like this little thing that pops up with like the two characters showing off the move, and like really brightly colored. And whenever you're fighting a boss, it actually is like a poster for a fight. You know, so-and-so, you know, Luchador.
Like a Lucha Libre.
Yeah, like Luchador versus, you know, whatever the boss is tonight, 7 p.m., you know. So I thought that those type of things, like, had a lot of personality that I thought the game otherwise kind of, like, lacked. I felt like they were really going for the humor element and all that, and maybe it's because I didn't get the jokes, but it didn't work for me as well as maybe like Mutant Blob did. The music I thought was kind of meh. I turned it off pretty much most of the time. But the big thing was a little controversy with the game was a lot of people said that the game was racist because it's a Canadian development studio and it's, you know, Mexican setting. Eric, you had some things you wanted to say about that?
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, when I was talking to, you know, developers of the game, and when I was talking to DrinkBox, it was just, you know, they came across this idea because an animator on their team who was born in Mexico came up with the theme and the setting and the art direction. So, you know, if it comes from someone who genuinely is just, you know, that's his background and he's making this game alone, you know, with the music and the art direction all kind of comes from his, you know, heritage. You know, I think it makes it okay. You know, I don't think it's racist at all.
In terms of issues, my only really big issues were I felt like it took a little while for at least for me, for the game to kind of like find its rhythm, and it felt a little unfocused at first. I felt like the side quests and things were kind of pointless, except for the combo one where you learn the combos. But overall, like, once it did grab me, it grabbed me, and I mean, I pretty much played it solid in a few days. I think my final game time was like 13 hours, but I also was trying to get like a lot of the like little side things and trying to find all the treasures, and I think it's a pretty good value. I mean, overall, I did enjoy the game. At first I didn't, but as I got into it, I really enjoyed it. And when I finally finished it, I had this just huge feeling of satisfaction like I haven't had in a really long time with finishing a game. And so I think once I add all those things together, I really have to give it an 8 out of 10.